Hey guys, tonight we tiptoe into the candlelit bedchambers and echoing marble baths of history's most pampered and tormented royal women. The subject? Beauty. Not the Instagram filter kind, but the sort that involved knives, blood, and a dizzying devotion to pain and perfection. Right now, imagine yourself draped in velvet and jewels. Your every move watched, judged, and recorded in the annals of courtcolis. Flickering torches illuminate faces pale as moonlight, not from good genes, but from what you're about to endure. If you think your nighttime skin routine is dramatic, wait until you hear what the queens, duchesses, and princesses of old did for that imperial glow. You, right now, lying in bed or curled on a couch, probably won't survive this routine. Seriously, most of them barely did. So, before we go any further, if this quiet space makes you feel even a little less alone, you can like the video and subscribe, but only if it feels right to your heart. And hey, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you lying awake in a quiet room at 2 a.m? Or maybe starting your day in a rainy city? Eyes still heavy? Drop your time and place in the comments. Let's remind each other we're not alone out here. Now dim the lights, let your shoulders relax, and let's begin tonight's slow, strange journey. Together, here on Timeless Sleep. You trudge softly down the endless marble corridors of an old palace, wrapped in a robe that cost more than a modern apartment, clutching a silver basin. Tonight is beauty night, the night your lady-in-waiting will bring out her little leather bag of knives and leeches. You're a princess, a queen, maybe even an empress. You're at the mercy of a fashion that says the paler and more translucent your skin, the more noble your blood. Unfortunately, the surest way to look sickly and elegant is to actually be sickly. Tonight's main event, bloodletting. Picture it. Candlelight trembling on gold-framed mirrors, perfumed air swirling with the scent of lavender and the faint, metallic tang of fear. Your maid dips a cloth in rose water, always rose water, as if that masks the dread, and lays out a tiny razor-sharp blade. You can choose leeches if you want to mix things up. But honestly, the little worms are squirmy and have zero bedside manners. You lie back, heart pounding as the blade nicks your skin just below the ear, the most aristocratic location for a good bleed. Blood wells up, drips down your neck, is caught expertly in a fine porcelain bowl. For a moment, it's almost theatrical, red on white silk, a gruesome watercolor that'll be washed away before anyone but your most trusted attendants see. You might wonder, in a dazed sort of way, who started this bizarre tradition? Was it Cleopatra? Marie Antoinette? The truth is, bloodletting is ancient. Babylonian, Egyptian, Roman, medieval, Renaissance, even well into the Victorian age. Across centuries and continents, royal beauty advice always included this cheery phrase: remove excess blood for a glowing porcelain complexion. Never mind that you're woozy, trembling, and just a little bit lightheaded. Let's pause for a joke, because you need it. How do you know if a queen is having a good day? She's only fainted once before breakfast. A weak chuckle from the shadows of history. It's not enough just to lose a bit of blood. For best results you need a schedule. Mondays, left arm. Wednesdays, behind the knees. Fridays, the dainty blue veins on your temple. Just to keep things exciting. Each session is followed by a fortifying tonic, wine spiked with gold dust or a suspiciously salty broth your personal apothecary swears by. Why all this effort? Well, it's simple. Being pale means you're rich enough to avoid manual labor, smart enough to avoid the sun, and sickly enough to make poets swoon. Nothing says I'm descended from the gods like a face that looks half-drained already. Every so often, a physician might recommend leeches instead. These little critters, kept in glass jars beside the powder and rouge, are applied to your arms, ankles, even your temples. They latch on, wriggle a bit, and soon you feel a gentle disturbing tug as your bad humours are drawn away. Some queens, always competitive, boasted about their tolerance. Oh, I once sat for 5 leeches at once, and didn't faint till the 4th. That's royal stamina. If you're extra unlucky, your medical advisors decide that bloodletting isn't just about beauty, it's about health too. Got a fever? Bleed. Feeling blue? Bleed. Want to impress a visiting ambassador? Definitely bleed. There's nothing more persuasive than a queen, looking ghostly yet radiant, wobbling bravely on jeweled slippers. Now, let's not ignore the aftermath. Bandages are applied, usually laced with herbs, sage for courage, thyme for calm. Your skin, drained of its ruddy flush, takes on that prized alabaster sheen. Your eyes look enormous and tragic. If you're very lucky, the king notices and sighs. "Ah, my lily of the valley." If you're not, he just comments that you look like you've seen a ghost, which frankly you have, the ghost of your own hemoglobin. Of course, sometimes things go wrong. Too much blood lost and suddenly the room spins. The floor comes up to greet you, and the royal physician is frantically waving salts under your nose. There are tales, hushed and shivery, of a few unlucky noble women who bled themselves one time too many. The lesson? It's not just fashion, it's an endurance sport. Your maids, meanwhile, clean up the scene. Bowls of blood are carried away. Bed sheets are changed. Maybe you sip a restorative cordial and wonder if tomorrow's glow will be worth tonight's misery. Let's cut back to our own era for a second. These days, you can scroll Instagram and see vampire facials and detox cleanses, modern echoes of ancient bloodletting, minus the leeches. Usually, if your skincare routine ever feels over the top, just remember, at least no one's draining your veins before breakfast. Back to the palace. One more round for good measure. The court painter is waiting to capture your new look, immortalizing you as the pale, mysterious sovereign who rules by candlelight and silence. Your enemies will whisper that you're ill, maybe dying. Your friends will insist it's just your ethereal beauty. At night, as you lie in your vast, lonely bed, you can feel your pulse thumping in your ears, fainter than it was this morning. Somewhere, a leech slips away under the floorboards, full and happy, and you drift into uneasy dreams, knowing that your most important duty is to wake up even paler tomorrow. And if you think this is as gruesome as it gets, remember, this is just the opening act. The next step in your royal beauty journey? A face full of lead paint. But for now, rest. Your bloodletting is done, at least until next week. You wake to faint sunlight, leaking through stained glass, a little weaker than you remember, but that's probably just the blood loss. Your reflection in a gilded mirror is almost spectral, chalk white, bruised at the temples, the faint trace of bandages peeking beneath a cascade of hair. Perfect. You're already halfway to the most coveted look in royal history, the painted doll. The next stage of your transformation is less messy but infinitely more dangerous. You've survived the blade and the leeches, but now you face your deadliest rival yet, your own beauty regimen. It's time to paint your face with lead. Imagine for a moment your own bathroom counter, bottles of serum, concealer, maybe a tinted moisturizer. Now triple the stakes. Imagine a row of tiny silver jars, one filled with fine chalky powder, another with a creamy snowy paste, a third with a tiny spatula resting inside like a surgeon's tool. Every court lady's table is an apothecary of alchemy and ambition, and the most prized ingredient everyone knows is Venetian ceruse. It sounds romantic. Venetian ceruse, the name alone whispers of moonlit gondolas and secrets traded under bridges. In truth, it's a smooth, opalescent paste made of vinegar and white lead. Yes, that lead. The same one you warn children away from today. Here's the part where you might flinch. This stuff is lethal. Everyone knows it. Sort of. The best physicians warn that it may encourage weakness of the nerves. They say this as if it's a little hiccup, the price of being beautiful. But then the jars are so beautiful themselves, mother of pearl and filigree, and the promise is so intoxicating. Flawless, luminous skin, white as the driven snow, unmarked by sunlight, freckles, or the memory of illness. So, after your morning refreshment, maybe a few sips of posset, heavy on the honey to mask the metallic taste, you sit before your lady-in-waiting, head bowed, and let her do her worst. First, she wipes away the faint trace of yesterday's powder with rose water, dabbed gently on linen. Then the process begins. The lead paste is scooped, spread across your forehead, nose, cheeks, and chin. Cold at first, then almost burning. You feel your skin tighten beneath it, fighting to breathe. She smooths it down, feathering the edges with the lightest touch, until you're utterly transformed. Your features fade into a kind of stylized mask. Blank, delicate, ethereal, imperfections vanish, replaced by the perfect ghostly blankness of nobility. Let's pause for a joke, because you need a breather. Why did the Queen never worry about wrinkles? Because her skin peeled off long before the wrinkles could show up. You try not to laugh, because it might crack your makeup. Now the finishing touches, a dusting of even finer powder, more lead, maybe with a touch of ground pearl for shimmer, a careful touch of colour, crushed cochineal beetles for rouge, a streak of soot for definition, but the face must remain impossibly white, a living canvas untouched by time or toil. This is more than fashion. It's a language, a secret code. The whiter your skin, the more you signal that you're above the peasantry, above work, above the very frailty of flesh. Your rivals envy your glow, and let's be honest, your audacity to risk death for it. Your portraits are coveted by artists. No one can capture your unnatural beauty except perhaps a master in oils. But let's not gloss over the downsides. Your skin begins to itch, a deep, relentless prickling. Some days, little sores break out around your mouth or nose. Your hairline recedes, maybe from last night's bloodletting, maybe from the daily application of poison. Your teeth ache. Sometimes your gums bleed. The women around you trade whispered secrets. How much is too much? What if the spots don't heal? Why do some ladies cough blood in the winter, waste away, and disappear from the court's bright halls? The king's new mistress, it is said, wears even thicker paint. She looks half angel, half ghost. But you, as queen, must never let her outshine you. On feast days, you add a new layer, thicker, whiter, painted right over yesterday's cracks and all. If it flakes, your maid smooths it back down. If it rubs off, you simply excuse yourself to powder your nose. An innocent phrase that covers a multitude of sins. A day in this face is a trial. The laid paste sweats under the summer sun, smears on your ruff, stains the collar of your gown. If you touch your face just once, it comes away on your gloves. If a lover dares kiss your cheek, he tastes bitterness and regret. Your children recoil from your embrace, but you can't stop. The mask must be maintained. Let's fast forward to an infamous royal, Elizabeth I of England. She who owned more than 100 pots of cerise at once, each with her initials stamped into the wax. Her face in portraits is utterly white, almost glowing. Her admirers gush that she looks like a vision descended from heaven. The truth, glimpsed in her private letters, is less romantic. Sores that never heal, skin that peels in angry ribbons, fevers that leave her gasping. But to falter would be to show weakness, to let her enemies so many see her humanity. At night the mask comes off, but only in the strictest privacy. Removing it is almost as hard as putting it on. Oil, milk, sometimes even urine is used to melt the stubborn paste from your skin. Still, the faint taste of metal lingers on your lips. Some evenings, you catch your own reflection and shudder. You look like a painted skull, halfway between life and death. Yet in the morning, you will do it all again. There's a running joke among the maids. Every jar of ceruse comes with a coffin. It's dark humour, but there's truth in it. No one expects to live long in the palace. Not really. Youth, beauty and status are fleeting, best enjoyed now, whatever the cost. Meanwhile, out in the city, the common women watch and copy. Lead is expensive, but chalk and vinegar are not. They mimic your look, hoping to climb just a little higher in the world, never quite realizing that they're chasing a death sentence in a jar. If you think you can skip the ceruse, think again. Rumours fly quickly at court. Did you see the Duchess's freckles? I think Lady Margaret has a tan. The tiniest slip could mean exile, disgrace, a hasty retreat to a country manor where the only audience is the family hound. And it's not just your face. Your arms, neck, chest, any patch of skin that might be glimpsed is painted and powdered, smoothed to a doll-like finish. Gowns are chosen for how well they set off the white. Jewelry is picked to reflect even more light. In winter, you barely go outdoors. In summer, you move from shadow to shadow, clutching a painted fan. By now, your body is rebelling. Your joints ache. Your vision blurs. And sometimes, on very bad days, your mind does too. You forget names, lose your place in conversations, say strange things at dinner. The court physician suggests rest, but everyone knows what's happening. Your beauty is eating you alive, one dusting at a time. Another joke. The Queen's secret? She's a work of art. Just don't get too close, or the paint will crack. Some nights you stare up at the canopy of your bed, heart thumping, and wish for just a moment you could wash your face and walk outside, bare-skinned, laughing in the sun. But that's for the farm girls, not you. You are beauty, and beauty, it turns out, is more prison than privilege. Still, as dawn creeps across your floor and the bells ring for morning prayers, you rise, let your maid tie back your hair, and open the little silver jars once again. Each touch is a reminder of your rank, your duty, your crown, and of the cost you're willing to pay, every single day, for the illusion of perfection. There's no escaping this ritual. Your face, for better or worse, is history's canvas. And tonight, as you drift into uneasy sleep, you dream of clean water, fresh air, and a world where beauty doesn't kill. If you ever find yourself thinking your skincare routine is too much, just remember the royal women whose faces were beautiful and beautifully doomed. The next morning arrives, not with a rooster's call, but with the soft, persistent scratch of fingernails along your scalp. You jolt awake, the air heavy with the scent of rose oil and, curiously, burnt hair. No, you're not in some medieval horror film. You're simply royalty, and today your brow will rise, quite literally, to the heavens. Forget about tweezers in your makeup bag or a slightly overplucked eyebrow crisis. Here in the royal bedchamber, it's not enough to shape your brows. The aim is to obliterate them entirely. The higher and smoother your forehead, the more otherworldly your beauty. Sew off with your natural eyebrows, and sometimes a good chunk of your hairline for good measure. Your maidservant, expert in the art of the vanishing brow, begins with the ritual plucking. She hums as she works, pulling out hair by hair, the pain a reminder that you belong to a lineage of women who endured far more for their thrones. Each little snap stings, but you grit your teeth after all. No queen can be seen flinching at such a minor agony. But let's be honest, plucking alone isn't enough for the truly fashion-forward. Some brows are stubborn, some foreheads just a bit too modest for courtly standards. Enter the real stars of this ritual: caustic substances, acidic concoctions brewed from vinegar, walnut shells, quicklime, or even arsenic-laced distillatory creams. Applied with a steady hand and a steady heart, these mixtures burn away what tweezers can't conquer. It's a chemical warfare waged right above your eyes, and the smell, somewhere between sour milk and scorched earth, lingers even after the pain fades. Your eyes water, not just from the fumes, but from the memory of the last queen whose hairline was so high she was rumoured to be half angel, half moon, or, as the jesters said behind their hands, half bold. You hear echoes of their laughter, but the fear of falling behind in this brutal beauty pageant keeps you glued to your stool. Let's pause for a modern joke, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Why did the Queen sit so close to the fireplace? She wanted her eyebrows to disappear before the next banquet. In some courts, that wasn't just a joke, it was a genuine tactic. You steel yourself as the maid wipes away the cream, taking a layer of your pride and a patch of skin with it. Now comes the artistry. No, not penciling in new brows. You're not allowed that mercy. This is the era of the pure, unbroken browless look. Instead, your newly exposed, pale forehead is dusted with powder and perhaps highlighted with a tiny dab of egg white or honey for shine. The result: a dome so luminous that courtiers may need to shade their eyes in your presence. You walk the halls, your brow gleaming, your eyes looking perpetually surprised and slightly tragic. The king's mistress whispers to her friends, "Her brow is high as heaven, but her wit is still at her knees." Everyone laughs, gently, nervous. In this world, a single misstep in beauty is a misstep in status. The higher your forehead, the higher your rank, supposed. But the ritual has a secret consequence. With every treatment, your skin grows thinner, more fragile. Sometimes angry red patches form and refuse to fade. You hide these blemishes under veils or thicker layers of lead paint. But in candlelight, the truth sometimes shows through. A queen's skin is not immune to suffering, just more adept at concealing it. And here's the real kicker. Once the hairline has retreated, it rarely returns. Some queens, desperate to reclaim their lost locks, try restorative tonics made from pigeon dung or bear fat. Spoiler alert, these rarely work, but the smell is memorable. Let's zoom out a bit. Why this obsession with the forehead? Blame the poets and painters. In Renaissance Europe, a high, smooth brow was a sign of intelligence, virtue, and aristocratic blood. The 5-finger forehead so wide you could lay your whole hand flat across it became the rage. It didn't matter if the method was torture, the result was royal. There are tales of young noble women being held down by their mothers and aunts, forced to endure the acid and the plucking for the first time before a major banquet. The weeping and the wailing filled the corridors, but in the end all that was left was silence and a row of browless, moon-faced beauties ready for display. Meanwhile, artists immortalize your new look in grand oil paintings. Your portrait will hang for centuries, your features frozen in time, your high brow declaring to future generations, "I suffered for this. Respect me." For the rest of the world, the fashion trickles down. Peasant girls rub ashes into their brows, hoping to lighten them, or singe them over a candle's flame. Mothers warn their daughters not to follow the noble's example, but envy is a strong force after all. Who doesn't want to look like a queen, even just for a day? Still, as the days pass, you realize there's no going back. Your hair will never grow in quite the same way. Each morning, the ritual must be repeated. Inspect, pluck, burn, soothe, conceal. You dream of wild hair, of eyebrows you could brush or braid, but those dreams fade in the cold morning light. For now, you remain on trend, forever looking just a little bit startled, your face a mask of pain, beauty, and, if you squint, a hint of silent defiance. After all, you didn't choose the browless life. The browless life chose you. Sometimes, late at night, you and your ladies share a forbidden laugh about your predicament. At least we save on eyebrow pencils. One jokes. Another chimes in. If only the king would appreciate us for our brains instead of our foreheads. You all giggle, quietly, carefully. Laughter is dangerous here, but so is everything else. Yet, as you drift towards sleep, your dreams are haunted by a single echoing thought. In the race for beauty, the finish line keeps moving farther away. And so, with your brow burning and your scalp tingling, you resign yourself to the next phase. For what is royal beauty, if not endurance? Tomorrow you'll rise again, ready to lose another hair in the name of the crown. But tonight, as the candles gutter and the palace hushes, you let yourself remember a time when you wore your brows without fear, when your mother braided your hair by the fire and no one whispered about the shape of your skull. In a world where pain is proof of status, you, browless and bold, are already winning, even if it sometimes feels like losing. A new day, a new battleground. You have already survived the nightly bloodletting, the silent suffocation of lead paint, and the acid rain of vanished brows. The palace air is thick with the scent of anxiety and singed ambition, so thick in fact, that as you enter your dressing chamber, you swear you can smell roasted mouse fur. That's not a slip of the nose, it's the next test in your royal beauty gauntlet. The quest for perfect eyebrows, once your own have been singed, plucked, or burned into oblivion. Eyebrows, you see, are like the punctuation marks of the face capable of delivering authority, curiosity, even innocence in a single glance. But in your world, real eyebrows are out, and artificial, handcrafted brows are very much in. Today, the artisan's medium is mouse fur. That's right. This morning, you, the most powerful woman in the realm, will trust your entire appearance to the burnt offerings of rodents. Your lady-in-waiting enters with a tiny box. It looks like a jewellery casket, but inside, delicately curled and blackened, are slivers of mouse fur, scorched and shaped into thin arches. The artisan responsible for this masterpiece has spent hours collecting, trimming, roasting, and finally gluing these furry relics into submission. Each piece is fragile, dark, and unnervingly warm to the touch. Your browless forehead is cleaned, dabbed with sweet almond oil and a sticky resin, made from tree sap if you're lucky, or fish glue if you're not. The glue's odour is somewhere between candied apples and stagnant pond. Your maid hums tunelessly, as she lines up the mouse fur strips, tongue poking from the corner of her mouth in concentration. She presses one arch just above your empty brow ridge, then the other, holding them in place for a long, breathless moment. You try not to sneeze. If you do, history will record nothing but a flurry of mouse hair in the royal audience chamber. If you think modern stick-on brows sound odd, imagine the experience of 15th century mouse brows. These tiny arches must look natural. Well, as natural as glued-on animal pelts can look, so your maid adjusts and nudges, smoothing down stray hairs, trimming the ends with gold scissors. If she's in a playful mood, she might even curl the tips into a devilish swoop. If she's feeling rebellious, she'll make them long enough to nearly meet your temples. Today, you just pray for symmetry. You stand before the mirror, gazing at your new, mouse-furred majesty. From a distance, the illusion is almost perfect. In candlelight, your face appears whole again. But up close, well, let's just say that the royal dogs follow you with unusual interest, and the palace cats have begun eyeing your forehead with predatory intent. Let's pause for a joke, because you really need one. Why did the queen avoid thunderstorms? She worried her eyebrows would scurry away in the rain. Not as funny when you're the one living it. Of course, keeping your new brows in place is a challenge of its own. Perspiration, emotional outbursts, and the occasional gentlewoman's fan all threaten to unseat the tiny pelts. If a single brow comes loose during court, your only option is to feign illness and retire to your chambers, lest you become the day's cruelest punchline. The phrase "raise your eyebrows" takes on a whole new meaning when it involves glue, fur, and the constant threat of public humiliation. The maintenance of mouse fur brows is a science, and sometimes a comedy of errors. At night, your maid gently peels them away, brushes out the tangles, and lays them flat to dry atop a heated tile or beside the hearth. The more ambitious ladies of court collect entire wardrobes of brows, some thick and arched for state occasions, some thin and angled for moments of grief or piety. There are even rumors of a duchess who ordered her brows dyed to match the seasonal flowers. The less fortunate, unable to afford a steady supply of mice, must make do with scraps of wool or, if truly desperate, dark thread. But why mouse fur, you might ask? Why not weasel or rabbit? Or even human hair? The answer, whispered in corridors and repeated with a shudder, is that mouse fur is the closest in texture and length to the lost, natural brows of youth. Rabbits are too soft, weasels too coarse, human hair too long and shiny. Only the humble mouse, already an unwelcome guest in palace kitchens, can provide the perfect substitute. Sometimes, the glue fails at the most inconvenient moments. Your cousin, the Duchess of Northumbria, once lost both brows during a sudden bout of sneezing at a royal banquet. Her recovery? She simply tilted her head, smiled serenely, and declared, "A woman of my station requires no punctuation." The courtiers gasped. The king nearly choked on his pheasant, and a new legend was born. Of course, not all beauty accidents become legend. Sometimes the missing brow is a social death sentence. The ladies at court titter behind fans, compose cruel verses, or swap stories of whose mouse fur looked most matted after a long ride. Still, you persist. After all, beauty is power, and you are here to win the war, no matter the casualties. It's not just brows either. Sometimes, those with the most daring taste add mouse fur lashes to their eyelids, or tiny mouse whiskers to emphasize a cupid's bow mouth. The lines between admiration and ridicule are razor thin, but the stakes are royal. The process is repeated endlessly. If you're lucky, the brow lasts through a state dinner and a moonlit dance. If not, you retire early, dabbing your forehead with linen and silently praying that tomorrow's harvest of mice will be plentiful. Some nights you catch your own reflection and marvel at how far you've come, from the simple, sweet-faced girl you once were, to the crowned woman whose beauty is held together by glue, rodent, and sheer will. Your thoughts drift to the generations of women before you. Did your great-grandmother also sit before this same mirror, bracing herself as a mouse met its fate for her brows? Did she ever dream of a life beyond fur, glue, and courtly intrigue? Or did she, like you, accept the ritual as the price of her position? A strange, smelly, occasionally hilarious ordeal at the service of a throne. There was a camaraderie among the ladies of the palace, forged in the fires of shared discomfort. After the last dance, the youngest maids and the oldest duchesses gather in their dressing rooms, carefully removing their brows, sharing horror stories, and laughing until the tears make their glue run. You haven't truly lived, the Dowager Countess tells you, until a mouse has made you beautiful. You smile, despite yourself. Tomorrow, you will don the brows again. Perhaps you'll try a new shape, a more daring arch, a hint of rebellion in the curve. After all, in a world that demands perfection, even the smallest deviation can feel like revolution, and so you rest face to the pillow, dreaming of a future where eyebrows grow wild and free, where beauty is not measured in mouse pelts or clever hands, but in laughter and kindness. For now, though, the war continues, one mouse at a time. You'd think after enduring bloodletting, lead paint, acid burns and the delicate dance of mouse fur brows, the royal spa day might be a welcome break, a soothing respite from the daily siege. If only. This time you're being marched down an echoing corridor toward the steaming baths. A marble tub filled to the brim waits beneath flickering torches. But don't get too comfortable. Tonight's treatment is a scalding, sulfur and brimstone bath, the kind of beauty ritual that leaves you clean, flushed and smelling faintly of the world's oldest volcano. You slip out of your layers, silk gown, linen chemise, the velvet slippers already streaked with powder and paste. The air is thick with anticipation and something less poetic, an unmistakable stench, sharp as rotten eggs. The bath itself is a masterpiece of royal plumbing, water drawn and heated in copper kettles, then ladled into the tub, where lumps of bright yellow sulfur are still fizzing and hissing. Steam curls upward, fogging the cold mirrors, promising the magic of purification and new skin. The women of court whisper that only the bravest and most desperate dare take the full sulfur plunge. Physicians claim these waters will drive out impurities, soothe inflamed skin, and leave your complexion fresh as morning milk. You're not so sure. The last queen to try it was found fainting on a chaise, fanned with peacock feathers, until the ringing in her ears subsided. You step in, testing the temperature, then lower yourself until the stinging water laps your neck. The sensation is sharp, almost electric, 1,000 tiny needles prickling your skin. You tell yourself this is what beauty feels like. Purging, purifying, painful. Your maid adds a handful of dried marigold petals, their colour a soft distraction from the sulphur's glaring yellow. Somewhere beneath the perfume of rosewater, a rotten tang persists. Luxury, you remind yourself. This is luxury. Let's pause for a much-needed joke. What do you call a royal bath that smells this bad? Nobility with a side of scrambled eggs. You snort, accidentally inhaling steam, and nearly choke. There is nothing elegant about sulfur, you decide, but you have no choice. Fashion demands it. In the world beyond palace walls, people bathe once a week if they're lucky. You, however, are obliged to submerge yourself in boiling mineral soup at least twice a month. The noble women whisper about the power of these baths to draw out the bad humours, to fade age spots and the marks of winter. Some claim that sulfur soothes the angry, peeling sores caused by the lead paint. Others hope it will drive away fleas, lice, and unwanted suitors. Occasionally the royal apothecary appears, a wizened figure clutching a vial of brimstone oil. For added radiance, "Your Majesty," he intones, dribbling the pungent substance into the bath. The smell intensifies, so potent that you're sure the tapestries will need cleaning tomorrow. Yet, as you soak, you feel the skin on your shins tingling, tightening. Is this healing or just a slow burn? You notice the wall carvings, ancient goddesses, their stone faces serenely unfazed by whatever sulphuric horror the ancients endured. You imagine them glancing at you, eyebrows arched, lucky them still intact, and giving a knowing wink. Beauty hurts, darling, and it stinks. Sometimes the bath is a group affair. Ladies of the court gossip and compare scars, one with a telltale rash from last month's vinegar peel, another with scald marks from sitting too close to the fire after her bath. There is camaraderie in shared suffering, laughter bubbling up despite the fumes. "We'll be beautiful corpses," one lady jokes, holding her nose, "but at least we'll be smooth." Meanwhile, your maid douses you with fresh water, scrubbing at any rough patches with a mitt made from dried nettles, to stimulate the skin, she assures you. As if you haven't suffered enough, you clench your teeth, forcing a smile and hope no one notices your tears mingling with the bathwater. The etiquette of the royal bath is strict. No shouting, no fainting, no leaving before the prescribed 20 minutes are up. At least, not unless you wish to be the subject of hushed gossip at tomorrow's breakfast. Did you hear the princess couldn't handle her own sulfur bath? Weak blood, they'll whisper. Never last a season. The hours after the bath are critical. Wrapped in linens, you're led back to your chamber, body pink and quivering, still reeking faintly of volcanic springs. The sulfur's scent clings to you no matter how much rosewater you splash. If you're lucky, your skin feels fresh and invigorated. If not, angry red patches begin to bloom. Your maid clucks her tongue, reaches for a salve honey, olive oil, and for the truly fashionable, a touch of ground mother of pearl. But there is, against all odds, a strange magic to the aftermath. Your skin, beneath the redness, is indeed softer. The worst of the blemishes have faded, temporarily at least. You pass a mirror and catch a glimpse of something almost ethereal, a face too pale to be real, eyes gleaming with the exhaustion of survival. I look like a boiled egg, you mutter, but your maid only grins. A very royal egg, your majesty. Even the men are not immune. Kings, princes, and courtiers submit to their own sulfur treatments. Their complaints more vocal, their tolerances lower. The Queen's brother famously made it only 5 minutes before leaping from the bath, howling, "I'd rather fight a bear than stew in this soup." The story is repeated for weeks, always to great laughter. There are alternatives, of course, but none so fashionable or so feared. Milk baths, favoured by Cleopatra herself, are reserved for the truly rich. Dozens of cows' offerings poured into the tub until the water is thick, fragrant, and gently sour. Wine baths, considered extravagant, are the toast of the Renaissance, the preferred soak of bored duchesses and would-be poets. But the sulfur bath remains the test of mettle. To endure it is to prove yourself tough, devoted, and immune to even the worst that royal life can throw at you. The days after a sulfur bath are marked by peculiar symptoms. Some report strange dreams, visions of fire and brimstone, rivers of molten gold, or singing salamanders dancing through the steam. Others claim they can taste sulfur in their bread for days. The court physician dismisses these as phantoms of the nerves, prescribing rest, gentle walks, and, for good measure, another round of bloodletting. After all, nothing solves a problem at court like a little more suffering. Let's pause for one last joke. How do you know the Queen has bathed in brimstone? You can smell her before you see her. It gets a groan from your ladies-in-waiting, but the laughter is real and a little bit defiant. In a world ruled by impossible standards, humour is sometimes the only shield you have left. As evening falls, you sit by your window, wrapped in fresh linens, inhaling the softer scents of lavender and beeswax candles. The sulfur clings to your skin, a reminder of the day's ordeal, but your cheeks are flushed, your skin smooth, and for a brief shining moment you feel not just beautiful, but powerful, a survivor, a champion of the ancient royal spa. Tomorrow, the cycle begins again. Powders, paints, plucking, and pain. But tonight, you allow yourself a rare luxury, a moment of pride, a sliver of peace, and the secret knowledge that you, and only you, have truly earned your crown, one sulfur bath at a time. And as you drift to sleep, the faintest smile plays on your lips. Let the court whisper, "You are the Queen of the brimstone." You'd think that after bloodletting, acid, singed brows, rodent glue, and a hard-boiled sulfur spa, there couldn't possibly be any more royal beauty horrors left to endure. And yet, as you lie half awake in the pale dawn, you catch the faintest scent of something sharp and sweet, a perfume laced with fear and promise. Your lips are dry, your cheeks dull, signs of an ordinary woman, but you are not ordinary. You are royalty, which means it's time for your most dazzling, dangerous transformation yet. Venomous lip and cheek stains. Yes, venom. Tonight's ritual is as much about danger as it is about colour. The rules of the royal court demand lips and cheeks flushed with health and passion, a contradiction given your sickly pallor, painted white by lead and washed with blood. Still, to be both pale and blushing, a living contradiction, marks you as both untouchable and irresistible. Your solution? The most deadly stains nature can offer. Your lady-in-waiting brings forth a tray. her hand steady, her face serious. Laid out before you, tiny silver pots, a clutch of dried berries, a vial of deep red liquid, and, glimmering in the candlelight, a wicked little jar marked with a snake's curling symbol. These are the tools of royal beauty, and like all such tools, they carry their price. First up, the berries. Cochineal, crushed in a mortar, yields a crimson so vivid it makes rubies look dull. Beetles, dried and ground to dust, are added for a richer tone, while the faintest drop of vinegar brings out the sheen. This concoction, dabbed onto your lips, stains them a bloody, luscious red. You press your lips together and taste earth, metal, and the faint memory of something alive. But this is only the beginning. The real glamour, the colour that commands respect and longing, comes from more illicit ingredients. The viper's symbol on the jar is no accident. Inside is a paste of venom, mixed with wild poppy and honey. Your maid, trained for years in the art of not killing her mistress, dabs the smallest smudge onto your lips and cheeks. You feel an instant heat, a tingling that turns quickly to a gentle swelling. Your lips plump, your cheeks glow, not with the softness of youth, but with the warning flush of poison. Let's take a step back and laugh. A gentle joke to cut the tension. Why did the queen kiss the snake? She wanted that killer smile.
No one laughs out loud, of course, but the corner of your mouth twitches, betraying your nerves.
Venomous lip stains were not just fashion, they were power. Courtiers knew the risks, whispering of queens who bit their lips in anger and collapsed mid-dance. The dangers only increased the mystique. To wear this colour and survive was to be untouchable. Blessed seemed by both death and desire. And it's not just snakes. Royal apothecaries throughout Europe and Asia traded in toxic berries, belladonna, wolfsbane, nightshade, each promising a new shade, a new thrill. Belladonna, most famously, dilates the pupils and reddens the lips. More on that in a later section. For now, know that it's doing double duty. If you're lucky, the effect is enchanting. If not, well, the court has buried more than one ravishing beauty after a botched application. But poison is not the only path to the perfect flush. There are less fatal, but equally unsettling options. Red ochre dug from riverbanks and mixed with animal fat. Carmine from crushed insects, pressed into sticks. Alkanet root for a deep, lasting stain. Yet, even these have their dangers. Unrefined ochre can harbour bacteria. Beetle powder can cause rashes. And plant dyes, if too strong, leave the skin raw and burning. The application of these colours is a ritual all its own. You sit before the mirror, your face still cool and white from the lead paint. Your maid dabs a tiny brush in the stain, taps it onto your lips, then your cheeks, building up the colour with the patience of a master painter. You watch the transformation, pale, then flushed, then feverish. You begin to look alive, even if the feeling is a carefully crafted illusion. There is an art to the flush. Too much and you look drunk or ill. Too little and your rivals will whisper that you've lost your charm. You practice a coy smile, a who-me look that shows off your new lips and cheeks. It's not just vanity, it's strategy. The right shade can win hearts, sway negotiations, and even calm an angry king. Or, if you wish, drive him wild. Still, you can't ignore the risk. Sometimes, after a new stain, your tongue goes numb, your vision blurs, your heart races. The court physician is called, but he only shrugs. Such is the price of beauty, Majesty. You drink warm milk, chew on a honeycomb, and pray the symptoms fade by morning. Let's take a moment for another joke, whispered behind a fan. How do you know a queen is in love? Her lips are red, her cheeks are glowing, and she hasn't collapsed yet. You try not to laugh. Your lips might crack. The aftercare is its own ordeal. Venom stains are persistent, sometimes lasting for days, sometimes requiring harsh scrubs to remove. At night, your maid rubs your lips with lemon and salt, hoping to erase the colour before it sinks too deep. Your skin burns, but you're used to it. You'd rather face a little pain than go to bed, looking ordinary. Some nights, you dream of simpler colours, rose petals perhaps, or a dab of berry juice. But these are the dreams of peasants and poets. You, crowned and burdened, have no choice but to wake each day, and reapply the poison to keep up with the shifting rules of beauty, to prove that you can endure more than anyone else. The rewards when they come are fleeting but powerful. The courtier stares a little too long at your lips. The king smiles with a new fondness. Your rivals glare, knowing they will try to outdo you tomorrow, perhaps risking a stronger dose or deeper shade. It's an arms race, fought with brushes and bottles, measured in heartbeats and bruises. You wonder sometimes if the men at court realize the truth, that your beauty is as much about courage as cosmetics, that every shade of red is a battle won, every smile a calculated risk, that you are, in your own way, a survivor. In the quiet hours when the palace is silent and your lips still tingle with venom, you allow yourself a rare soft smile. You've lived through another day, another round. Tomorrow will bring new dangers, new stains, new tricks, new threats, but tonight, you sleep, painted, poised and undefeated. Beauty, you realize, is not for the faint of heart, and here at the pinnacle of power, it is also the most dangerous weapon you wield. Morning in the palace comes slowly. Drowsy sunlight seeps through heavy velvet curtains, gilded with dust motes and half-remembered dreams. You wake with swollen lips, still faintly tingling from last night's venomous blush. Every inch of your skin aches, but beauty waits for no one, least of all a royal woman. This morning there will be no gentle creams or simple powders. Today's ritual is as intricate as it is agonizing. You stare at your reflection and brace yourself. It's time for the golden thread face embroidery. Yes, you heard that right. Face embroidery. The phrase alone might send a shiver through even the most hardened modern influencer. But here in the palace, whispers of this golden agony sweep the court like wildfire. Did you see the Empress's glow last month? A sheen straight from Olympus, golden, poreless, immortal. Of course, no one mentions the pain, the risk or the scars. Your maid prepares the chamber. Windows shuttered, bowls of steaming water lined up. A fresh linen spread across the bed. In the center of the table gleam the tool's needles, fine as cat's whiskers, a spool of shimmering golden thread, and a tiny jar of herbal salve. You try to breathe deeply, but the air tastes of metal and anxiety. A skilled hand is needed for this work. Not every maid is trusted. Some queens import their needle artists from distant lands, whispering of secret Chinese or Persian techniques, the promise of everlasting youth. The principle is simple, if not the practice. Thin gold threads are stitched just beneath the surface of your skin, creating a subtle tension, a lifted cheek, a luminous radiance that no mere ointment can match. At least, that's what they say. You lie back, heart thumping as your artist sterilizes your cheeks with rosewater and brandy. Her touch is gentle, almost loving, an odd contrast to what's coming. You close your eyes and picture the court, ladies leaning forward to catch the light on their faces, men enchanted by a glow that never fades. The first prick of the needle snaps you back to reality. The process begins with a delicate puncture just near the hairline. The golden thread, thin as silk, is threaded through the needle, then drawn under the skin in careful loops and whirls. With each stitch, a faint burning radiates outward, followed by a strange tightness, a feeling like being sewn into your own mask. The artist works silently, brow furrowed, her hands steady. One slip, you know, and a scar will remain forever. Let's pause for a joke, because you need one right now. How do you know a queen's had her face embroidered? She can't frown at your bad puns, no matter how hard she tries. You want to laugh, but your mouth is held tight. You are becoming a work of art, willingly or not. The pain builds with each pass of the needle. Some queens take laudanum or strong wine to dull the sensation, but you grit your teeth, determined to remember every moment. After all, suffering is currency here. Each wince, each tear, is proof that you are stronger than your rivals, more dedicated to the crown. If you cry, the gold will glisten all the brighter. When the stitching is done, the artist gently massages your cheeks and forehead, smoothing the gold beneath your skin. You glimpse yourself in the mirror, cheeks a little red, lips swollen, golden glints sparking beneath the surface. For a moment you look like something ancient and powerful, half goddess, half martyr. The aftercare is as serious as the ritual itself. For days, your face must be kept clean and cool. No smiling, no laughing, no sudden movements. The tiniest infection could ruin everything. You wear a silken mask at night, sleep with your head propped high, and let the court wonder at your new mysterious reserve. The rumours begin immediately. Did you see the Queen's glow? Unnatural. Unholy. Even. The bishop mutters a prayer. The court painter begs for a sitting. The king, perhaps, leans in a little closer. Entranced by the way light dances across your skin, you allow yourself a private smile. Tiny, careful, so as not to break the delicate scene. You're not alone in this quest for radiance. Golden thread facelifts, or gold maskings as they're sometimes called, are a sensation in palaces from France to Russia, Persia to Ming China. Each court adds its own twist. Some use silver or silk for a subtler effect. Others combine the threads with tiny gems or flakes of mother of pearl. The wealthier the queen, the more elaborate the embroidery. Of course, there are mishaps. One duchess, eager to outshine her rivals, insisted on platinum threads. Her face turned blue, and for a week, she hid in her rooms, claiming spiritual retreat. Another, obsessed with symmetry, underwent a second round of stitching, only to emerge with cheeks too tight to speak above a whisper. Still, the risks are outweighed by the rewards. In a world where beauty is power, a glowing, ageless face is the ultimate weapon. The palace servants gossip behind closed doors. I heard the countess's golden stitches burst open when she laughed at the jester. The princess can't eat solid food since her last embroidery. You pretend not to listen, but inside, you file away each story, weighing the risks, planning your next move. Sometimes, you wonder what it would feel like to let your face move freely, to smile without pain, to weep without worry. In rare private moments, you touch your cheeks gently, tracing the faint lines beneath the skin. The gold is cold, unyielding, a reminder that your beauty is not entirely your own, and yet there is pride. You see your reflection, serene, luminous, almost otherworldly, and remember that every stitch was your choice, your sacrifice. You have bent your body to the will of the crown, made yourself both armor and ornament. You are untouchable. At least, that's what you tell yourself. As weeks pass, the swelling fades, the bruises soften to a gentle glow, and the gold settles beneath your skin. The results are undeniable. Your cheeks are higher, your brow smoother, your beauty no longer merely painted but embedded. Courtiers stare, rivals plot, suitors write bad poetry about your celestial radiance. Let's pause again for a joke. Whispered late at night by your ladies-in-waiting. Why did the queen stop playing cards? She couldn't risk a poker face crack. You all giggle. Carefully, no wide smiles, please. Yet, not all that glitters is gold. Sometimes, the threads migrate, causing odd lumps beneath the skin. Sometimes, infections set in, fevers, abscesses, the slow horror of rot. In those cases, the gold must be cut out. The scars hidden beneath heavier layers of paint and powder. The unlucky are sent away, retired to distant manors, remembered only as cautionary tales. But most of the time, the pain is worth it. Your power grows with each admiring glance, each whispered compliment. You have paid dearly for your place, and in a world where beauty is fleeting, a single glint of gold can hold the court's attention longer than any speech or song. In the quiet after the ritual, you let yourself imagine a different world. A world where faces are left unstitched, where beauty means laughter lines and sun-kissed skin, not agony and secrecy. But those thoughts are for another life, another girl. For now, you rise, careful and slow, and face the day as you must, golden, regal, and unbowed. Tonight you will lie in your grand bed, skin tingling with a new, almost alien tightness. You will dream of ancient queens, goddesses and mortals alike, their faces as serene as statues, their eyes forever watchful. You wonder if they too endured the needle's kiss, if they too paid the price for a fleeting, perfect glow. For now, you sleep stitched and shining, queen of the golden dawn. Dawn again, and with it, the endless cycle of expectation and ordeal. Today, Your cheeks are swollen from the golden embroidery, your lips still humming with last night's poison, and your brow remains as smooth and empty as a blank page. It's enough to make anyone question the meaning of beauty, but in the royal court, there is always another hill to climb, another impossible standard, another rumour, half whispered in the gallery. She's growing thin, don't you think? Positively ethereal. That's not a compliment, it's an order. Welcome to the era of arsenic wafers and deadly diets. Because in this world, beauty comes not just from what you put on your skin, but what you put or refuse to put into your body. And nothing signals nobility like a figure just shy of famine. Your morning begins not with breakfast, but with a silver tray of beauty wafers. Each delicate disc is snowy white, thin as communion bread, and dusted with the faintest shimmer. The kitchen girls whisper that they're made from powdered sugar and rice flour. The truth is far more sinister. The secret ingredient is arsenic. A pinch, no more. A dose to pale the skin, hollow the cheeks, and give the eyes that luminous, feverish glint so prized in royal portraits. You hesitate, but the expectation is ironclad. To refuse is to signal weakness. To indulge in porridge or bread would be to risk whispers about your peasant tastes and unseemly robustness. Instead, you nibble at the wafer, feeling its chalky bitterness dissolve on your tongue, followed by a wave of nausea and an icy prickle at the back of your neck. Why would anyone willingly ingest poison? The logic, such as it is, goes back centuries. Arsenic, taken in small doses, bleaches the skin, tightens the jaw, and suppresses appetite. The ideal is a body nearly transparent, free from blemish, purer than snow fallen on the palace gardens. The risk, well, you already know how court thinks about risk. If it doesn't nearly kill you, is it even worth the gossip? Let's pause for a joke. One of those dark, clever ones, the maids whisper. Why did the queen bring arsenic to dinner? She wanted her rivals to pale in comparison. You almost laugh, but the effort makes your stomach twist. The dangers are well known. Some women build up tolerance, their bodies adapting to the daily drop of poison. Others, less fortunate, waste away, the colour leaching from their faces, hair falling out in clumps, eyes turning glassy and unseeing. The king's third cousin, once celebrated for her ethereal glow, died suddenly at a banquet, her hands clutching the remains of a wafer. The story is retold in a dozen ways, always with a warning. Beauty is a banquet for the bold, and a grave for the greedy. But arsenic isn't the only deadly dish on the table. There are vinegar tonics, sipped at dawn, which sap the body of moisture and spirit. There are chalk pills, crushed and blended with honey, taken to ensure that milk-fed pallor. There are lead-laced candies, chewed on the sly, and miracle broths full of ground pearl silver leaf, or if the apothecary is particularly daring, a shaving of real gold. Sometimes the kitchen is transformed into an alchemist's lab. The royal cook, pressed into service as a beauty doctor, whips up cucumber and mercury tonics. Just a spoonful, Your Highness, to keep your complexion clear and your appetite absent. The taste is metallic, the after effects unpredictable. One day, your cheeks are radiant. The next, your legs are too weak to stand through morning prayers. Still, you persist. There's an unspoken competition among the women of court, a race to see who can eat the least, who can look the most ghostly, who can endure hunger with the straightest spine. The thinnest girls are praised as wispy, delicate as a sigh, light as mist over the river. The rest are ignored, pitied, or worse, fattened up for diplomatic marriages with far-off, less fashionable courts. The Queen Mother, always watching, sets the pace. Her own diet is legend. 3 almonds and a goblet of spring water, and the discipline of a saint. You try to emulate her, though your head swims and your hands tremble. Each day, you grow lighter, your dresses hanging looser, your bones more visible. The court tailors whisper in awe. Her waist is a poem. Let's pause for another wry joke. This one from the musicians. What's the Queen's favourite instrument? The harp. Because she can see every ring. A groan passes through the chamber, but you sense a note of envy, too. The dangers multiply as the years go by. Some women, desperate for the next level of purity, resort to more extreme measures, fasting for days, drinking only rainwater caught from palace gutters, inducing vomiting with herbal teas, or if truly desperate, tying a tight ribbon around the waist until eating becomes impossible. There are even rumours of women swallowing tapeworm eggs to ensure that any food they dare eat disappears without a trace. These stories are spoken softly, always with a glance over the shoulder, but you know at least some of them are true. The cost is high, but the rewards, if you can call them that, are real. You move through the palace like a wraith, your beauty unearthly, your body almost weightless. Men write poems about your airiness. Painters try to capture the way light seems to pass through you. You catch your reflection and barely recognize the girl you once were, a girl who loved apples, laughter, and the simple pleasure of bread. Sometimes, late at night, you sneak to the kitchens and beg the scullery maid for a heel of bread or a slice of pear. The taste is electric, almost forbidden, and you devour it in the darkness, heart racing with guilt and joy. "Don't worry, Your Highness," the maid whispers. "I won't tell." For a moment, you feel alive, restored. But by morning, you're back at the tray, the arsenic wafer waiting, the race for beauty beginning anew. The men at court are no less obsessed, though their rituals differ: vigorous hunts, cold baths, the swallowing of raw eggs, and the daily donning of bone-crushing corsets. More on those soon. Still, it's the women who suffer most, whose bodies become battlegrounds for fashion, whose every pound is counted and recounted in the cruel economy of status. The days blur into weeks, the weeks into seasons. You grow accustomed to the feeling of emptiness, the sharpness of hunger, the dizzy pride that comes with every new hollow in your cheeks. Your rivals grow thinner, some disappearing entirely, sent away to convalesce, or buried with only a handful of mourners and a cautionary poem. But you remain, pale and shining, a testament to endurance and the impossible dream of perfection. There are moments of rebellion, a birthday feast where you eat a slice of cake, slow and deliberate, in full view of the court. A morning when you choose milk instead of vinegar and let the taste linger on your tongue. A night when you refuse the arsenic wafer, telling your maid, "Not today." These are small victories, private and fleeting, but they are yours. And always, you remember, beauty here is not a gift, but a challenge. Each day survived is a triumph, each smile a secret. You learn to move gracefully, to stand tall even when your legs shake, to wear your suffering like a crown. As dusk falls, you sit by your window, watching the last rays of sunlight catch the gold threads in your skin. You wonder if the world outside is kinder, if peasants and villagers eat their fill without a second thought. You envy them, just a little, but you also pity them, for they will never know what it is to endure, to shine, to be both admired and envied by an entire kingdom. Tonight, as you drift into uneasy sleep, you dream of fields of bread and honey, of laughter at a crowded table, of a world where beauty does not demand so much, but tomorrow you will rise, and the ritual will begin again. This is your life. This is royal beauty, and you are still miraculously standing. If you ever thought breakfast in the royal palace was hazardous, wait until you see what passes for luxury at the royal vanity. You wake after another wafer-thin night, stomach unsettled, lips tingling, and your nerves already frayed at the thought of what fresh hell the morning will bring. This time, it's not about skin, lips, or even figure. Today, beauty comes in the form of perfume and powder, but not the pleasant kind. Today, you'll wear a fragrance both holy and horrifying. Lethal perfumes and mummy powder. It starts, as always, with expectation. You're expected to glide into the solar, cheeks glowing from poison, face smooth from gold and lead, but also to carry a scent that proclaims your purity and mystery, something intoxicating and rare. Unfortunately, the rarest ingredients are also the most dangerous. You sit at your dressing table, surveying the collection: cut glass vials, ivory boxes, small velvet pouches embroidered with strange symbols. The perfume of a queen is not mere rose water. It's an arsenal, a blend of frankincense and myrrh, attar of roses, spikenard, civet and ambergris. And for the truly avant-garde, a dusting of ground mummy. Yes, mummy, your most exclusive, most expensive beauty product is literally the powdered remains of ancient Egyptians. Sought after for centuries in European courts, Momia is believed to possess magical curative powers, and just as importantly, a peculiar luminescence that supposedly brings a radiant inner glow. Physicians prescribe it for headaches and melancholy. Alchemists sell it as an aphrodisiac. For you, it's part of your morning ritual. Your maid approaches, eyes careful, hands steady. From a jar, she pinches a little brown-black powder and taps it into your face cream. She mixes it gently, then pats it onto your forehead, cheeks, and even your eyelids. A subtle, eerie shimmer that no mere pearl or gold could mimic. The cost? Well, that's a matter for your conscience, and perhaps your ghostly Egyptian benefactor. Let's pause for a joke, the kind the bolder courtiers trade late at night. Why does the queen never fear a curse? She's already wearing half a pharaoh. You laugh quietly. Dark humour is a staple of court life, but perfume too is fraught with peril. The fashionable scents of your era are potent and strange. Musk and civet are animalic, sharp and long-lasting, often extracted from the scent glands of wild creatures, sometimes harvested under brutal conditions. But it's not just about status or stamina, it's about masking other, less pleasant odours. The acrid tang of lead paint, the lingering brimstone from last week's sulfur bath, the telltale musk of nerves and hunger. Each scent is a calculated message, one that says, I am above the common lot. I am powerful enough to endure anything. Sometimes perfumes are enhanced with even deadlier elements. Cinnabar, a vivid red mineral, is ground and added for colour and intensity. It's also loaded with mercury. Inhaling its vapours over time causes tremors, madness, and a slow, beautiful decline. Ambergris, as precious as gold, is used not only for its sweetness, but also as a sign of impossible wealth. It can only be harvested from the bellies of beached whales. But it is the mummy powder that catches the public imagination. Physicians mix it into medicinal tinctures, artists blend it into paint for an eternal brown, and society ladies dust it over their faces or into their bathwater for a touch of the afterlife. There are even recipes for mummy elixirs to be drunk on special occasions, said to grant vigour, immunity to poison, and even prophetic dreams. You, wisely, have never tried it. Drinking the dead seems a line even you won't cross, but you do keep a vial on your nightstand, just in case fashion demands it. Sometimes the powders and perfumes are not enough. On ceremonial days, your attendants will anoint you with scented oils, including the infamous oil of tar, a heavy, resinous blend favoured by some Byzantine empresses. Its stench so overpowering that even the palace cats refuse to enter your chambers for hours afterward. When your enemies walk by, they wrinkle their noses and mutter, but your supporters insist you smell of the East, of wisdom and power and immortality. As with all royal beauty, this too is a performance. You appear in the throne room, perfumed and powdered, sunlight glinting off your golden stitches, a ghostly shimmer on your cheeks. Courtiers bow lower than usual, perhaps in awe, perhaps to avoid the full force of your perfume. Poets write verses about your otherworldly aura, your scent of mystery and ancient lands. You smile, thinly. Only you know how much of your radiance is borrowed from the grave, from the whale, from the red-hot heart of a volcano. Let's not forget the risks. Some perfumes, heavy with aldehydes and animal extracts, cause rashes or even fainting fits. One notorious duchess collapsed during a feast, overcome by her own blend of musk and patchouli. Another, known for her amber eyes and lethal breath, died after her maid accidentally spilled an entire bottle of essence of Belladonna into her bath. The consequences of fashion are rarely discussed openly. If a lady's skin begins to flake or darken, if she coughs up blood or suffers nightmares, it's blamed on the weather or the stresses of court. The real reason, arsenic in the powder, lead in the paint, poison in the perfume, is never uttered above a whisper. You, though, keep careful notes. If a certain mixture leaves you dizzy, you order it removed. If a powder makes your lips bleed, you quietly pass the jar to a rival. In this way you survive by calculation, by luck, by refusing to trust any promise made by men who stand to profit from your pain. But the perfumes are not all evil. Some are truly delightful: rose violet, lilac, and iris. These scents are gifts from the garden, reminders that beauty need not always be dangerous. On rare private evenings, you ask your maid to fill your bath with rose petals and orange blossoms, to leave the musks and mummies locked away. You lie back, inhaling deeply, letting yourself imagine a life of simplicity, a beauty drawn from sun and soil, not from the tomb. Let's pause again. For a joke, even the bishop might risk. How do you know the queen has mummy powder in her perfume? She always smells ancient. It's funny because it's true. Still, you can't escape your fate. Tomorrow will bring new demands, a different mixture, a more potent scent, a stranger ingredient. Already you've heard of an alchemist in Florence who claims to have invented a perfume of the Sphinx, combining nard, myrrh and a pinch of ground sapphire. You make a note to inquire. If it's dangerous, so much the better, and so you pass another day, painted, perfumed, powdered and perfused with history. Your scent lingers in every chamber, on every silk pillow, in the memories of everyone you meet. No one can forget you, even if they try. Not when you carry the past itself in every breath, every shimmer, every lethal drop of beauty. As night falls, you let your maid wipe away the day's offerings. She brings a new cloth, softer than the rest, scented with lavender and honey. Rest now, Majesty, she whispers. You've outlived them all. You smile, not just at the words but at the truth of it. You are, quite literally, unforgettable. Some nights, as you drift through the palace in silk slippers, every candle flickering against your golden threaded skin and ghosty cheeks, you almost forget your body underneath the paint. But the moment you sit down, surrounded by the endless layers of velvet and whalebone, your breath catches and you remember. Beauty isn't just painted on your face. It's built into the very bones of your body, or rather pressed, squeezed and sometimes even broken into place. Tonight your ladies-in-waiting gather with the seriousness of surgeons. Their job, to help you into the corset, that instrument of royal transformation and torment. The phrase itself, corsets and rib-crushing silhouettes, doesn't do justice to the reality. To be royal is to be reshaped from the inside out. It begins with a strip of linen or silk, embroidered with your family crest, as if you needed a reminder of whose standards you must meet. The stays are reinforced with whale baleen, steel, or even wood for extra stiffness. Your maids loosen the laces, and you stand straight, arms lifted, prepared for the ritual. You're not alone. Somewhere in another palace wing, a cousin and two young princesses are submitting to the same ordeal. You can almost hear the faint gasp of breath echoing through the halls. Let's pause for a joke that's made the round since the Renaissance. How do you spot the queen at a banquet? She's the only one who can't bend to pick up her own napkin. You laugh, but only with your eyes. Your lungs don't have much room for more. The lacing begins, slow and methodical. The maid assigned to the job is chosen for her strong hands. This is a craft, almost a science. She pulls the laces, inch by inch, as your waist shrinks, your breath thins, and your posture becomes impossibly upright. Your ribs protest, your stomach is squashed, and your spine straightens. The goal, the smallest possible waist, the flattest possible stomach, the most exaggerated curve from hip to bust. The more fashionable the court, the more extreme the silhouette. You've heard the French are taking it to new extremes. Waists so tiny a man can span them with his hands. Gowns so fitted that dinner is all but impossible. There's a story of a duchess who fainted 3 times during one meal, revived only with smelling salts and sips of watered wine, before finally excusing herself to be unlaced by candlelight. You tell yourself it's worth it. After all, the rewards are real. The eyes of the court follow you, lips part in admiration, and your rivals cast jealous glances. A perfect waist is a political statement, a signal of discipline, refinement, and most of all, control. Only the rich, only the powerful, only the truly dedicated can endure such punishment in the name of beauty. The fashion changes every decade or so, but the pain remains. Some years it's all about a flat front, achieved with rigid busks of bone and metal slipped down the center of the corset. Other years the emphasis is on the wasp waist, requiring ever tighter lacing and special padding to accentuate your hips. There are moments in history when the bustle reigns, a kind of cage built right onto your backside, making it nearly impossible to sit without toppling over. Every new shape means a new kind of suffering. Let's pause for another joke. One whispered among the kitchen girls, "Why did the princess take up embroidery? It was the only way she could bend at all." You smile, but again the joke is painfully true. But there are darker truths hidden in the whalebone and lace. Some women's ribs crack under the pressure. Doctors warn of displaced organs, shallow breathing, even fainting spells that last for hours. You've heard of girls who died after a sudden shock, a fall, a fright, a staircase taken too quickly, because their bodies so tightly bound simply couldn't expand to let them gasp for air. There are other dangers too. Infections from chafed skin, sores from months of sweat and pressure, dislocated shoulders and backs twisted for life. Yet no one talks about these risks openly. Instead, failure to wear your corset, failure to lace in, is seen as a moral failing, a sign of laziness or weakness. A queen must be a model to her people, your governess once scolded. Beauty is discipline, suffering is proof of character. And so you endure. Each morning you submit to the laces and stays. Each evening when they're finally loosened, you sigh in relief. Just before the pain of returning sensation sets in, your waist bears the red marks, the bruises, the calluses that no powder or perfume can hide. At court, the tightness is a badge of honor. Women exchange tips for holding their breath, for eating the tiniest portions, for sneaking moments of deep inhalation when no one is looking. There's a shared camaraderie in the suffering. You all know what it means to keep your back straight and your eyes bright while the world closes in around your ribs. The men are not entirely immune. For ceremonial occasions, some princes don lightly boned corsets beneath their doublets, eager to mimic the slender lines of their favorite paintings. But for them, it's a passing fancy. For you, it's life. Even dancing, supposedly the joy of the court, is an ordeal. Waltzes are slow and stately. Any move too vigorous, and you risk blacking out, or worse, popping a seam in front of the entire assembly. There's a rumor about a Spanish princess who, during a particularly energetic minuet, fainted into a bowl of punch. She awoke with a smile, only to discover her corset had split right down the middle, and her rival had already made a song about it. Still, the rewards remain. Every portrait painted, every marriage proposal, every lingering glance from the king is proof that the pain is working. "You look perfect, my dear," he says, as you glide past him, unable to draw a full breath. "Thank you," you whisper, hoping he doesn't notice the tremor in your voice. At night, after the laces are undone, you lie on your back and try to fill your lungs. Sometimes it takes minutes to remember how to breathe deeply. Your ribs feel loose, floating, your back aches, and your hips are numb. But you tell yourself you are lucky to have the means and the strength to suffer for your beauty, lucky to have survived another day. Sometimes the palace nurses urge you to rest without your corset. Just one night, Highness. Let your body recover. You agree, knowing you'll pay for it in gossip tomorrow. The queen's waist was thick at mass. Did you see? Perhaps she is with child, or maybe she's just letting herself go. The court is always watching, always judging. Let's end with a final, rueful joke, whispered late at night, shared between friends. What's the only thing tighter than a queen's corset? The smile she wears while enduring it. You laugh softly, hoping that tomorrow's ritual will be easier, hoping that someday the standards might loosen, even just a little. But for now, you sleep in the knowledge that your body, molded and bruised, is another canvas, another battleground in the endless war for beauty. You are corseted, contained, but still miraculously whole. Tomorrow, another ritual awaits. Tonight, you breathe as deeply as you dare, feeling the ache in your ribs, as a reminder that, in this court, pain is as much a part of beauty as pearls, paint, and powdered bones. You'd think that with all the bloodletting, poisonous paints, gilded wounds, mouse fur disguises, volcanic baths, venom tints, and bone-crushing corsets, there might finally be an end to the ancient ordeal. But tonight, as the candles are snuffed out one by one, another challenge is quietly prepared in the royal chambers. a test as old as vanity itself and as harsh as the Queen's own temper. The court has decreed hair must be smooth, skin must be soft, and no stray shall be suffered to live. You have entered the age of cauterizing unwanted hair, the original no pain, no gain routine. In your world, hair removal isn't about hot wax or sugar pastes. Those are gentle compared to the methods devised for a royal's perfect skin. The first light of dawn brings your personal beauty physician to your bedside, sleeves rolled up, face solemn. On a tray rest iron tongs, tweezers, and a tiny, wickedly sharp knife. There's also a special lamp, its bowl filled with oil, wick trimmed and ready. This is not a morning for the faint of heart. You begin with the easy parts, the fine down along your upper lip, the stubborn strands beneath your chin, the fuzz that dares to show itself on the tops of your feet. Each is plucked with practiced precision, leaving tiny red pinpricks behind. The pain is sharp, but fleeting. You grit your teeth, thinking of the moon-faced look so prized at court, the way the candlelight will play across your skin tonight. But for the truly difficult hair, the dark, coarse, or just too numerous plucking isn't enough. That's where cauterization comes in. The physician heats the iron tongs in the lamp's blue flame, waits until they're glowing, then with the steadiness of a sculptor, presses them gently to the offending follicle. There's a hiss, a curl of smoke, and a smell somewhere between burnt sugar and old parchment. You flinch, every muscle taut, but do not cry out. To flinch is to fail, to weep is to lose standing. You are royal, and pain is your inheritance. Let's pause for a joke, a dark one, fit for the chambers. How does a queen know she's beautiful? When her eyebrows grow back as char. It's not the kind of thing you repeat in the banquet hall, but it helps you through the morning. The process is excruciating and slow. Each patch of unwanted hair is burned away, the skin sealed in the process. Sometimes the physician uses a special oil to cool the wound, but often you're left with a thin, shiny scar, a badge of your dedication to the crown. On bad days, the burns blister and must be covered with new layers of paint or powder. On good days, the pain fades by sunset, replaced by a kind of numb pride. In some courts, the process is more elaborate. The most fashionable queens commission special depilatory ointments, blends of quicklime, arsenic, and animal fat, smeared onto the legs and arms until the hair shrivels and can be scraped away. But these ointments are unpredictable. Leave them on too long and you lose more than just hair. Too short and you must submit to the tongs. For the most stubborn cases, a blend of vinegar and crushed walnut shell is used, applied with a cloth and left to burn until the skin tingles and reddens. No one mentions the risk of open sores or the marks that never quite fade. Sometimes, the king himself must submit to the tongs, especially before grand feasts or tournaments. You watch amused as he grumbles and fidgets, protesting that the burning is unnecessary. The Queen Mother shakes her head. "Beauty is for all who rule," she says. "Even you, my son." He submits, of course, knowing that his face, like yours, must be flawless in the portraits that will hang for generations. Let's pause for a lighter joke from the maids. Why don't queens fear fire? They've survived it every morning. You all smile behind your hands. Laughter is another shield, however fragile. There's a strange solidarity among the women of the palace. Each of you bears the same small scars, the same secret burns. At night, after the pain has dulled, you gather in your chambers, sharing ointments and stories, trading advice on which oils soothe best, which balms mask the scent of burnt hair. You comfort each other, quietly, in the only way you know how. Tomorrow, it will hurt less. The skin always heals. No one will notice beneath the paint. But the truth is, the court notices everything. A missed patch, a dark spot, a shadow in the wrong light. These are fodder for gossip, whispers that can destroy a reputation faster than any scandal. Once a rival duchess was caught with a trace of dark hair on her jaw. By the end of the week, she had retreated to her family's estate, her place at court gone. In winter, when the air is dry and cold, the burns take longer to heal. Your skin cracks, the pain is sharper, and you shiver beneath layers of powder and rouge. You envy the peasant girls, free to run wild and hairy through the fields, unconcerned with beauty or standing, but you also pity them, they'll never know the strange pride of surviving the flames. As the years pass, the scars accumulate. Your hands, once soft and unmarked, are now crisscrossed with tiny white lines. Your feet bear witness to 100 mornings of burning and plucking. You become an expert at hiding the worst of it, at painting over the evidence, at moving with poise even when your body aches. Still, you endure. Beauty is endurance, and endurance is power. Every pain survived is proof that you belong here, in these gilded halls, among the painted and perfumed elite. Let's pause again for one last jest before sleep. What's the Queen's favourite fire? The one that leaves her hairless and heart whole. You laugh softly as your maid rubs cool balm into your skin, as the night settles in and the palace grows quiet. As you drift off, the last thing you feel is the faint tingle of a healing burn, a reminder that even in sleep, beauty never rests. Tomorrow there will be new rituals, new pain, new tests. But tonight, you have survived, and that is enough. In the end, you realize beauty is not about perfection. It's about endurance, adaptation, the willingness to suffer for a place in history. You are scarred, yes, but also strong, and in a world that demands so much, that is its own kind of beauty. As the night air cools and the palace settles, you might hope for respite. Instead, you are greeted by the arrival of the spa basket, not a collection of scented oils and honeyed soaps, but a ragtag parade of jars and bowls, each filled with ingredients that would horrify any modern dermatologist. Here in the most opulent halls of history, luxury is measured not by comfort, but by how much discomfort you're willing to endure in the pursuit of flawless skin. Tonight you submit to the most infamous, least glamorous of all treatments: crocodile dung and bird droppings. Yes, you heard that right. In a world before vitamin C serums and retinol, the secrets to a glowing complexion were dredged from riverbanks, coop floors, and the mucky edges of distant marshes. It is said that Cleopatra herself swore by her nightly mask of crocodile dung mixed with fresh donkey's milk. Now, centuries later, you follow in the footsteps of queens, and the stench is truly regal. Your maid prepares the mask with grim determination. First, she opens the pot of dried crumbled dung, the scent unmistakable, earthy, pungent, with a sour edge that no rosewater can hide. She mixes it with thick, creamy donkey's milk until it forms a viscous greenish paste. The mask is slathered across your face, cool and oddly soothing for the first few moments. But soon, as the mixture dries, your skin tightens, tingles, and the smell clings to your nostrils with relentless persistence. Let's pause for a joke, the kind you and your ladies-in-waiting share when the doors are closed tight. Why did the Queen fall asleep during her beauty mask? She was waiting for the crocodile to take her to dreamland. You try not to laugh lest the mask crack and flake into your lap. But there's more. The dung mask is only half the ordeal. On alternate nights, your regimen demands a bird droppings facial. Nightingales, it's whispered, produce the best guano for beauty, though most nights you make do with whatever can be collected from the palace dovecote. The droppings are dried, ground and mixed with rice bran to form a grainy paste. The mask is spread across your face and neck, promising to bleach the skin and erase blemishes. In truth, it leaves your skin tingling, sometimes red, sometimes glowing, always at the mercy of fate and fashion. The origin of this custom, you learn, is not mere court whimsy. In ancient Japan, geishas used ugasu no fun, nightingale droppings, to cleanse and whiten their skin after heavy lead makeup. The method migrated across continents, from Kyoto to Venice, Cairo to London, each palace putting its own spin on the recipe. In France, the masks are sometimes mixed with honey or powdered pearls, in Spain with olive oil and rosewater, in Russia with sour cream and crushed almonds. No matter the add-ins, the core remains. Animal waste, believed to be a potent clarifier and skin renewer. It's not just the face. Some nights you slather the mixture onto your arms, your chest, even your legs. Beauty is not confined to the cheeks at court. Any visible skin is subject to scrutiny, and any flaw, however slight, becomes gossip by dawn. The worst part isn't the smell, or even the sticky discomfort. It's the waiting. You must sit perfectly still, mask drying, while the palace hums with late-night intrigue. Your only company is the tick-tick of the great clock and the soft, sympathetic sighs of your maid. "How do you stand it?" she asks, genuinely curious. You shrug as best you can, the mask stiff on your skin. "A queen must endure," you reply. "Even the indignity of smelling like the royal stables." Sometimes the regimen backfires. A new batch of crocodile dung brings on a rash that blisters and peels for days. The bird droppings, too harsh, leave your cheeks raw and weeping. You are forced to hide beneath a veil, explaining your absence from court as devotional retreat. But the stakes are too high to give up. The first hint of smoothness, the faintest glow, and you're back at it again. One more night, one more mask, one more promise of transformation. Let's pause for another joke, this time whispered over steaming cups of posset. Why did the king avoid the queen's goodnight kiss? He preferred his bed without a side of nightingale. Even your maid laughs at that. Careful not to spill her cup. There are alternatives, but few are any better. Some ladies swear by snail slime, others by a paste of ground fish scales and vinegar. There's a princess in Bohemia rumoured to sleep with her face painted in a blend of crushed emeralds and stale bread, her skin green-tinged for days. In Florence, the nobility import rare Icelandic moss to brew into tonics, guaranteed to cleanse the blood and brighten the eyes. But the dung and droppings remain the gold standard for the desperate and the brave. Occasionally, a visiting ambassador is treated to the full royal spa. His reaction is always the same: a polite smile, a barely concealed grimace, and a hasty retreat. The next morning you'll overhear him mutter to his retinue, "The queen is beautiful, but her chamber smells like the Nile at flood." You can only imagine what they write home to their kings and queens. Perhaps stories of royal elegance, but more likely tales of strange and smelly rites in candlelit rooms. It isn't all misery. There's a kind of camaraderie in these rituals. Late at night, you and your closest friends, those who understand that beauty is a battlefield, gather together, faces painted with whatever the apothecary has prescribed, laughing quietly at your shared absurdity. You trade recipes for new masks, tell stories about whose skin peeled worst last week, and sometimes, just sometimes, allow yourselves to wonder aloud if life would be simpler if you could walk outside barefaced and sun-kissed, without fear or judgment. Your maid, faithful as ever, has her own remedies: a cool cloth dipped in chamomile tea, a dab of beeswax ointment, a whispered blessing for calm skin and peaceful dreams. Some nights, that's enough. Still, when the mask is washed away and the air clears, you find yourself looking in the mirror, seeking some proof that all this suffering is worth it. Some nights there's a glow, a smoothness, a fleeting glimpse of the perfection you're told to chase. Other nights it's just you, tired, sore, red-faced, and wondering if you've traded comfort for little more than a legend. Let's pause for one last joke, shared as the first rays of morning creep through the curtains. How do you know you're a queen? When your beauty routine doubles as animal husbandry, the laughter, soft and genuine, is the sweetest balm of all. As you slip between the sheets, clean at last, the scent of dung replaced by lavender, you let yourself drift into sleep. In your dreams you are running through green fields, your face clean, the air fresh, your skin kissed only by the sun and the wind. But dawn will come, and with it, another day of ritual, another night of masks, another round of the ancient smelly battle for beauty. This is royal life. This is the price of perfection. And you, queen of the dung and the dawn, will rise again. Morning finds you awake before the sun, lips dry from venom stains and face newly scrubbed of dung and droppings. As your maid tiptoes in, you sense the next trial before she utters a word. This time her tray holds no pastes or poisons, but something even more personal, more relentless. A collection of powders, twigs, burnt crusts and tiny glass vials. Today's mission is the pursuit of the perfect mouth. Bizarre tooth and breath remedies. Royalty, after all, is not just seen, it is heard and scented, even from across a banquet table. Imagine the scene. You sit beside the king, 1,000 candles reflecting off silver plates. The music is soft, the conversation lighter than spun sugar. Your smile must dazzle, your breath must charm, but centuries before dentists, fluoride or toothpaste, Beauty meant desperate measures. Your morning begins with a mouth rinse, a blend of honey, salt and wine, strong enough to burn away whatever lingered from last night's wine or cheese. The taste is sharp and stings your gums, but it's nothing compared to what follows. Your maid hands you a small twig, peeled at the tip, until it frays. You chew it slowly, working the fibers against your teeth. This is your toothbrush, a miswak from the east, or a willow switch from the palace gardens. It's said the sap strengthens gums and whitens the royal smile. You're not so sure, but it's better than nothing. Then comes the real ordeal, tooth powder. Your powder is a secret recipe: ground oyster shell, a pinch of burnt bread, a little salt, and if the apothecary is feeling generous, a bit of ground pearl or coral for that all-important radiance. The taste is chalky, almost sandy. Your maid dips a clean cloth in the powder, wraps it around her finger, and scrubs each tooth, front and back. The friction makes your gums bleed, but no one complains. A spot of blood is better than yellowed teeth. Let's pause for a joke, whispered at midnight by girls on the brink of laughter. How do you know the queen's smiling? Just look for the pearls. You flash your teeth at the mirror, hoping they live up to the legend. But teeth are only part of the challenge. In a court obsessed with fragrance, bad breath is social death. You chew cardamom, fennel seeds, or a clove pressed between your molars. The apothecary has his own special concoction, a syrup of mint, rosemary, and vinegar, so strong it makes your eyes water. On festival days, you're handed candied rose petals or violet pastils, melting slowly on your tongue, each one a promise of sweet words and sweeter breath. Of course, some remedies go too far. You've heard tales of princesses in Italy rubbing their teeth with lemon juice or even nitric acid to bleach them white. The result? Translucent teeth that soon crumble away. Others polish their smiles with a mixture of honey and ground brick, which wears the enamel thin as silk. In France, it's fashionable to sprinkle powdered charcoal on your tongue before important banquets. But one ill-timed cough and the effect is less mysterious noblewoman, more chimney sweep. Your mouth, you quickly learn, is both a weapon and a liability. Gum disease is rampant, but losing a tooth is worse. Empty spaces draw stares, inspire gossip, and ruin the line of a perfect smile. Wealthy royals send for travelling tooth pullers, hoping to replace what's lost with false teeth of ivory or even carved bone, but these rarely fit well, and sometimes fall out mid-conversation. There's a rumour repeated gleefully by the scullery maids that a queen once sneezed at a state dinner and shot her new teeth across the table. The king's laughter echoed for days. Still, the quest for the perfect mouth continues. You are urged to gargle with red wine or, for the bravest, with a tincture of alum and sage, so bitter it could turn milk sour. The bravest court ladies swish a mixture of vinegar and salt, said to cut through the humours and cleanse not just the teeth but the soul. The price is always the same: burning, bleeding, the slow retreat of the gums. And then there are the exotic cures. Your apothecary imports a tiny bottle of dragon's blood resin, swearing it will keep your mouth as fresh as morning. A nobleman from the north gifts you a pouch of birch tar, sticky and black, used to coat the teeth and seal out decay. The taste lingers all day, reminding you of the smoke from last winter's fire. There are those who swear by powdered coral, others who grind up emeralds and sapphires for a sparkle worthy of the heavens. You try each one in turn, never sure if the pain is worth the promise. Let's pause for another joke. This one whispered over a basin of mint water. What do you call a queen who chews on gold? A monarch with the Midas touch. You grin, feeling a little better. Yet, beneath the rituals, there is anxiety. You dread the pain in your jaw, the sensitive ache in your gums. The moment a loose tooth begins to wobble, you avoid hard fruits, sticky sweets, and nuts, afraid that one bite will spell disaster. When you lose a tooth, as all royal women do, your maid brings a mixture of ground clove and poppy seed to pack the socket, easing the pain and masking the wound. For breath, you learn the subtle art of talking through flowers. A sprig of rosemary tucked into your sleeve, a sachet of dried rose petals held close to your lips, a handkerchief perfumed with lavender, all tricks to keep conversation sweet and whispers close. Still, there are moments of panic. A courtier leans in, A secret is shared, and you pray your mouth betrays no secrets of its own. Some days, when the pain is too much, you long for silence. You sip warm wine, mouth closed, eyes down, letting the music and laughter swirl around you. In these moments, you envy the peasants, their strong, unadorned smiles, their freedom from the tyranny of perfection. But the rituals continue. Each morning and night, you submit to the powders, the scrubs, the endless rinses. Each meal is measured, each bite taken with caution. You keep a pouch of fennel and mint seeds at your waist. Ready for emergencies, you practice your smile in the mirror, making sure it is as dazzling as the legends demand. There are, occasionally, victories. A new powder leaves your teeth gleaming. A rare herb sweetens your breath for hours. Courtiers compliment your pearl smile. The king's eyes linger, and the court painter begs for one more sitting. In these moments, you almost believe the stories that a perfect mouth is the mark of a perfect queen. But you know the truth. Behind every smile, every whispered secret, is the memory of pain, of rituals endured, of remedies both bizarre and brutal. Beauty, you learn, is not just about what is seen, but what is suffered in silence. And so, as the sun sets, and your maid brings the final rinse, a cool, sweet blend of honey and mint, you let yourself relax. You have survived another day. Your smile is intact, your breath sweet, your legend secure. Tomorrow, new rituals await, new remedies to try, new stories to tell. But tonight, you drift to sleep, lips parted in a small, tired smile, dreaming of a world where beauty is effortless and every mouth is filled with laughter, not fear. There are some days at court when the struggle for beauty focuses not on what's visible at first glance, but on the parts of you that are usually hidden. Your feet. Yes, your feet. Royalty may be draped in velvet and crowned in jewels, but a queen's dignity is also measured by what peeks out from beneath her hem. This is the hidden world of foot binding and tiny slippers, a ritual of pain and pageantry that marches you straight into a history both secretive and strange. Tonight, as you slip off your heavy brocade gown, your maid kneels by your feet with her basket of implements. You wince before she even touches you. Your toes already ache from a day spent balancing on shoes no wider than a matchbox. At court, a small, narrow foot is the ultimate symbol of grace. The tinier, the better. A rosebud foot is the soul of beauty, they say. In reality, it's the product of years of discipline and discomfort, all in pursuit of an ideal that you never chose. Most imagine foot binding as an exotic custom, confined to distant lands and ancient empires. They picture China's lotus shoes, silken wrappings, and the careful breaking of bones. But here, in your own palace, foot fashion is its own contest, less extreme perhaps, but still merciless. Your own rituals began at childhood, long before you had a say. At 5, your governess pressed your feet into tiny slippers, stuffing the toes with wool and pinching the heels until your feet ached. By 7, you were exercising every morning, walking the length of the chamber in pointed, hard-soled shoes, while your mother and her ladies watched. Heel to toe, beauty is balance, they chanted. You learned early that pain is not a punishment, but a requirement. Let's pause for a joke. When the younger princesses whisper, "Why do royal slippers have pointed toes?" So the queen can keep her secrets under wraps. The real secret, of course, is how much you suffer just to stand at a banquet. As you grew, so did the challenge. The shoes became narrower, the heels higher, the expectations more impossible. While your brothers trained in swordplay and falconry, you were handed a pair of scarlet silk slippers, each barely large enough for a child's hand. Walk gracefully, your mother insisted. A queen glides. You tried and failed and tried again. Your reward for perseverance? Bleeding heels, bruised toes, and the quiet, relentless pride of your governess. Unlike the brutal foot binding of ancient China, which could cripple a girl for life, the European royal ideal is just as competitive, if less bone-breaking. In Spain and France, slippers are so narrow that toes curl inside. In Venice, chopines, a kind of platform shoe, lift you so high above the street that walking becomes a precarious ballet. The English court prizes high arches and arched insteps, so you practice by rolling marbles beneath your feet for hours, wincing with every movement. There are competitions, informal but fierce, to see whose feet are the daintiest. At masked balls, ladies accidentally let their slippers slip off, revealing embroidered soles barely larger than a fan. Rumours swirl of duchesses who bribe cobblers to make shoes even tinier, just so they can claim the title of smallest foot in the room. Artists paint delicate, arching feet in every royal portrait, often exaggerating the proportions. No one wants to be immortalized with big, sensible feet. But it isn't only about size. The skin must be flawless, the nails as pink and smooth as pearls. Your nightly ritual includes a soak in rose water and vinegar, followed by a careful scrubbing with pumice stone. Calluses are the enemy. Cracks. A catastrophe. Your maid trims your nails into perfect ovals, massages your feet with almond oil, and wraps them in silk cloths. Some nights she applies a paste of honey and powdered silver to bring lightness and grace. In winter, she rubs your heels with goose fat to keep the skin soft, and the pain, always there. Some mornings you can barely walk from your bed to the window, your feet swollen and throbbing from the day before. On feast days, the worst comes at the end of the night, when you slip out of your shoes and find your toes bloodied and bent. Still, you say nothing. The court expects perfection, and you are nothing if not dutiful. Let's pause for another joke. This one from the jester. Why does the queen dance so well? Because her slippers are too tight to let her run away. The laughter, as always, is tinged with truth. Occasionally, someone rebels. A young princess stumbles during a procession, her feet too cramped to support her. A duchess attends a ball in plain leather boots, shocking the assembly into silence. But these moments are rare, and the backlash is swift. The rebels are shamed, sent away, or quietly returned to the fold. The lesson is always the same. To be royal is to endure, even at the tips of your toes. Your mother, who once boasted the smallest feet in the realm, still nurses bunions and broken arches, hidden beneath her silk stockings. She winks at you over her embroidery, a silent sisterhood of suffering. It's worth it, she says. Beauty fades, but legend remains. You nod, not quite sure if you agree. There are stories of foreign princesses who arrived at court with large, country feet, mocked ignored, never quite belonging. The fashion magazines and poets compare feet to petite shells, blushing lilies, or the crescent moon at midnight. You smile politely and keep your real feelings to yourself. Sometimes in the privacy of your chamber you shed your slippers and stretch your toes, savoring the brief freedom. You remember the barefoot races of your childhood, the feeling of grass and earth beneath your feet, the laughter unburdened by protocol. Those days are gone, but not forgotten. Now, your feet are symbols of obedience, discipline, and above all, survival. Still, you find small joys, the cool splash of water at the end of a long day, the tickle of silk against your skin, the whispered jokes and shared grimaces with your ladies-in-waiting. When you dance, you let the music carry you, forgetting for a moment the ache in your bones. When you sit for your portrait, you arch your foot just so, hoping that the painter will be kind. And you remember, always, that beauty is never simple. It is a tapestry woven of pain and patience, tradition and rebellion, pride and secrecy. Even as you wince at the memory of the day's ordeal, you take pride in the grace you display, the poise you maintain, the legends you inspire. So tonight, as your maid soothes your battered feet with balm and gentle hands, you close your eyes and dream not of pain, but of the freedom and wildness that once belonged to you alone. Tomorrow will bring more rituals, more tiny shoes, more pressure to measure up. But for now, you rest, Queen of the Crescent Moon, mistress of the slipper, survivor of the secret war at your very souls. The sun rises again, spilling gold across the window panes, and you brace yourself for the next beauty trial, a ritual so alluring and perilous that it borders on myth. The mirror is kinder in the early morning haze, but you know that today, all eyes at court will seek that mysterious, haunting gaze. No royal beauty routine would be complete without the most spellbinding and deadly of all. Nightshade-eyed queens. In every era, eyes have been the windows to power, tools for seduction, intimidation, and storytelling. For centuries, artists have immortalized queens, whose stares seem to hold secrets and sorrow, strength and softness. But these effects are not always the gifts of nature. Behind every dreamy, wide-eyed look is a secret vial tucked deep among the powders and pins. Tonight you will risk more than your pride for that gaze. A drop of liquid nightshade and a prayer. The day begins quietly. Your face is cleansed, your lips softened with honey and balm, your hair arranged in loose, lazy waves. There is comfort in these rituals. They remind you of girlhood, when beauty was playful and safe. But by afternoon, as your maid lays out your evening gown and a tray of glass bottles, the mood turns serious. At the center of the tray sits a tiny, dark vial. Its stopper is sealed with wax and marked with a skull. Belladonna, your apothecary murmurs, as if saying the name could summon disaster. Just a drop, Majesty. The name means beautiful woman in Italian, but the plant behind it is deadly. A weed whose berries can kill with a single mouthful. You know the risks, as all royal women do, yet you nod, steeling yourself. The promise is too good. With each drop, your pupils will widen, your gaze will grow deeper, your eyes will shimmer in the candlelight. Court poets will write sonnets to your enchanted stare, rivals will whisper that you hold men spellbound. But you know the price. Beauty and blindness are twin sisters in this game. Your maid dips a fine glass rod into the vial, drawing out the pale, glistening liquid. She leans close, careful not to tremble, and lets a single drop fall into each of your eyes. The sensation is immediate, a slow burning warmth that spreads from pupil to temple, sharp as heartbreak, hot as a fever. The world blurs for a moment. You blink, and candlelight dances in a haze of silver and gold. Let's pause for a joke, the kind only your bravest ladies will whisper. How do you spot a queen at court? She's the only one with pupils bigger than her secrets. You smile, though it hurts. Laughter helps when you can't quite focus on anything else. For the first hour, the results are undeniable. Your pupils swell, nearly eclipsing the iris, and your eyes take on a doe-like innocence. The effect is irresistible. Courtiers lean in, entranced. The king's gaze lingers. The court painter practically swoons, desperate to capture your fleeting magic. You walk the halls, vision slightly blurred, the colors of the world richer and deeper, every shadow gilded by the potion. But the side effects are swift and insidious. Your eyes dry out, prickling with each blink. The sunlight becomes unbearable, a burning brand that forces you to shade your face behind a silk fan. Reading is impossible. Even the delicate stitching of your embroidery grows indistinct. Sometimes your vision swims with colored spots. There are whispers of queens who went blind, permanently after years of dreamy-eyed beauty. Still, you endure. To be beautiful is to risk everything, and you are a master of risk by now. The court's admiration is a balm for the pain. Every compliment on your starstruck gaze is a small victory. You're not alone in this ritual. Across Europe, Belladonna is a secret weapon of noble women from Venice to Vienna. Some add it to perfumes, others to love potions. In Russia, nightshade tinctures are sometimes mixed with kohl, painted onto the waterline for a deeper shadow. In England, doctors warn against its use, but their advice is ignored. "What good is sight?" one duchess famously declared. "If no one sees you." Let's pause for another joke. This one from the court jester. Why did the queen stop reading poetry? She couldn't see the verses, but everyone saw her beauty. The laughter, as always, is tinged with unease. The ritual isn't without competition. Some women, desperate to match your effect, risk higher doses, 2 drops, even 3. The results are unpredictable. Some collapse with fever, others stagger blind through the halls. The lucky recover with only headache. The unlucky, well, their stories are told in whispers, warnings for the next generation. There are remedies for the pain, also the apothecary claims. A compress of chamomile and rosewater, a draught of cool wine, or a nap in a darkened room. But nothing truly undoes the nightshade's bite. Your eyes remain sensitive for days, and your sleep is filled with swirling, fevered dreams. colors and faces swimming in the dark, voices calling from far away. But even with the suffering, you persist. Each evening, you weigh the risk anew, knowing that the court's memory is short and its gaze relentless. To be seen is to be loved, to be desired, to be safe. In a world where power can change hands with a look, you cannot afford to blink. Sometimes when the pain is at its worst, you remember a simpler time, chasing butterflies in the garden, eyes bright and clear, no vials, no drops, no secrets. But then a courtier bows low, his eyes locked on yours, and you remember why you endure. For every compliment, every rumor of your bewitching stare, every ballad sung in your honor, you pay with your comfort, your health, sometimes even your sight. In the privacy of your chamber, as your maid gently bathes your eyes and dims the lamps, you allow yourself a moment of weakness. Is it worth it? You ask, voice soft. She squeezes your hand, uncertain. You are the most beautiful woman in the world, she whispers, and you are for tonight. As you drift towards sleep, your eyes aching, you dream of a world where beauty is not measured in pain, where no one must choose between sight and admiration. But dawn is coming, and with it another day of glances, whispers, and the dangerous power of a queen's gaze. You will rise, eyes wide and shining, ready for the world to see. Tonight, a hush settles over the palace, so profound you can almost hear the past breathing through the thick velvet drapes. You have endured so much bloodletting, burning, poison, gold needles, mouse fur, and the daily grind of suffering in silence. Yet for the queens of history, the most grueling test of all is often reserved for the end of the day, in the private glow of candlelight. Peeling, scraping, and blood mask rituals. You've survived all the daylight tortures, but the price for beauty is never paid in full. Evenings in the royal chamber belong not to rest, but to the relentless pursuit of renewal, an endless cycle of removing, sloughing, and repairing what the day's rituals have damaged. It begins with peeling. Forget the gentle, fruit acid masks and delicate exfoliants of the modern spa. Here, peeling means exactly what it sounds like. Your maid brings forth a bowl of concoctions, crushed almonds for grit, vinegar for bite, and for the daring a splash of aqua regia, an alchemist's acid, strong enough to dissolve gold, diluted just enough that it merely scalds flesh. You close your eyes as the mixture is spread across your cheeks. The burn is instant, sharp, and almost electrifying, as if your skin is waking from a nightmare. You hold still, breathing slow, tears pooling at the corners of your eyes. The mask is left until your face tingles and itches. A timer measured, not in minutes, but in your own endurance. Only when the sting becomes unbearable does your maid gently scrape the mask away with a blunt knife, lifting off the topmost layer of skin along with it. Let's pause for a joke, the kind your oldest ladies in waiting tell as they pass the bowl. How do you know the Queen's mask is working? She's already halfway to a new face. You laugh, or try to, but your mouth is tight and raw. But the ritual isn't finished. For the final touch, the apothecary has prepared a blood mask, a treatment beloved by the ancient Romans and revived by every court obsessed with eternal youth. A few drops of your own blood, drawn by a careful prick of the finger, or a sharper blade, are mixed with honey, rose oil, or crushed pearls. The concoction is painted across your face with a soft brush left to dry and then rinsed away with spring water. The court swears by it. Nothing restores the blush of youth like the lifeblood of the Queen herself. If you wonder why these rituals persist, you're not alone. Every queen, every noble woman, every ambitious lady in waiting is locked in the same competition. Who can endure the most, risk the most, suffer the most elegantly? The palace corridors are lined with reminders, faded portraits, each face eerily smooth and luminous, the pain forever hidden beneath silks and smiles. Sometimes the rituals go wrong. The acid peels too deeply, leaving raw, weeping wounds. The blood mask causes infection, fever, days of isolation in a darkened room. Those who recover emerge with new scars, new stories, new warnings for the next in line, but many keep their silence, unwilling to show weakness in a world where reputation is everything. Let's pause for a last tired joke. shared between you and your reflection. What do you call a queen with perfect skin? Someone who hasn't washed her face yet. You smile, a real, weary smile this time, knowing that despite everything, you're still standing. The ritual is nearly over. Your maid applies a balm of honey, chamomile, and a precious drop of olive oil. She whispers a blessing, half prayer, half lullaby, as she smooths the ointment over your battered cheeks. The pain softens to a warm throb, then fades to a gentle hum. For a moment, you let yourself feel proud, not just of your beauty but of your endurance, your resilience, your refusal to break. As you lie back in bed, silks cool against your new raw skin. You think of all the women who came before you, who bore these rituals with grace and grit. You think of those who will come after your daughters, your nieces, the young girls watching and learning, ready to step into the same circle of fire. You hope quietly that one day they will find another way, but for now, you are part of the ancient chain, forged in pain and polished to a shine. Outside, the palace grows quiet. The lamps are extinguished, the stars hang low, and the world seems to breathe in time with your own slow, healing breaths. Now the palace is still. The agony of peeling and burning recedes as you lie in the half-dark, your skin tingling, your muscles loose with exhaustion. The air is cool and gentle, smelling faintly of honey and herbs. For the first time tonight, you feel the weight of your own survival, the quiet pride of someone who has endured every test thrown her way. As your eyes drift shut, the pain softens, and your thoughts grow slow and heavy. You remember faintly the laughter of your ladies, the comfort of old jokes, the softness of clean sheets after a night of ordeal. In the silence, the bruises and burns fade into the background, replaced by a gentle gratitude for rest. You picture the countless royal women across centuries, each drifting to sleep with their own wounds, their own whispered dreams. You realize you are not alone. You are joined by a lineage of survivors, bound together by beauty and suffering and the hope for a gentler tomorrow. Let the palace fade around you. Let the torches gutter out. Let your breath deepen, your muscles release, your heart slow. There is nothing left for you to prove tonight. You have been beautiful and brave and utterly human, so breathe, rest. Let the darkness hold you, soft and safe, until the dawn returns.